is near and dear to my heart. And I really just want to talk to you about why this is so important, because I really want you to become more strategic with how you create your content and actually picking those topics that you're using for your content. So if you're a newbie in a launch or creating content on a consistent basis, I want you to really start thinking about the purpose and what type of content you're going to be creating based on where you are in your business cycle, okay? So before we get started, I just want to do a quick introduction for those of you who are watching me today and don't know who I am. I'm Kristen Poborski, and I help healers, business, and life coaches dial in their content creation strategy and implement it in a way that helps them build their practices with paying customers. Okay, so let's dive into today's subject, all about creating content with a purpose. So one of the things that nobody really talks about is how to strategically use content to build your business. We talk about the number of pieces that you need to be creating, the topics, the things like that, but nobody really talks about strategically planning in advance what kind of content. Now, I'm not talking about the topics. I'm really kind of talking about a bigger strategy of what kind of content you need to be creating and putting on your blog, out on social media, videos, things like that, based on where you are in your business process. So I look at it as 3 pillars. So there's 3 pillars of creating content. There is authority content, there's launch content, and there's evergreen content. So let's dive into the very first pillar, which is that authority content. Now, if you're just getting started in your business, or if you haven't been blogging, creating content for very long, what you wanted to start doing is creating that authority content. So you might be wondering, okay, what is authority content, right? It is really content that you will use to, it's evergreen, of course, but it's really going to solidify you as the go-to person in your audience, okay? So it is for your niche, that's what I'm really saying. So what that would be is like why content, what content, and list posts. Now, a lot of people talk about how-to content. When I say how-to content, it's more about the what to. And the reason why I say why content versus how-to content is the how-to content, how to do stuff, really should be behind your paywall. People need to pay you for the how to do things. What you really want to do instead is explain the why and what you need to do, okay? And what list posts are is like a way of creating content that's like lists of things that they need to be doing, not the how, but the why and the what, okay? So those are like predominantly what you want to be creating if you are wanting to establish your authority. And one thing I want to include in there that's so important is that you incorporate storytelling into your content. You start giving them stories of how this worked and what worked, and you start telling people stories of how you help them, clients, things like that, because it really, number one, gives social proof and people can relate to it more. So when you give strategic, concrete examples of what you've done when you're telling them the why and the what, it really brings it to life. Okay, so let's go on to if you're doing a launch, okay? So a launch, really, you want to be creating content that is specific to what you're launching. So that's where you really want to dive in and just go specific content that relates to whatever program, product that you are launching. Now, again, the why, the what, and then I would even go bigger into case studies. Of course, I would always kind of pull in your content that you're creating the stories about how it's helped people and what you've done and things like that. But what I would call out separately here are case studies. And again, that really shows your authority, that you know what you're doing, that you've helped someone that's just like them, that they can relate to. All right. Then let's go into, what do you do if you're not creating authority content and you're not in a launch? So this is where evergreen content comes in. And this is where you want to pick topics that align with your product and services. So you really want to look at the categories of content that you are creating. When I say categories, it's really like the bigger subjects that you're talking about. So say you're a therapist, you might be talking about dysfunctional families. You might be talking about infidelity, things like that. If you're a business coach, then you're going to be talking about things like communication, team building, working remotely. Those are bigger topics. And then under those are bigger topics or categories of content that you're going to create. Then you're going to go in deeper and create a content plan that has different specific topics. Okay. And under that, you really want to be creating why content again, what content, those list posts, and you're going to include some how-to content. But what you really want to be careful there is really not giving away too much. You want to give them small wins, but you don't want to give away everything that's behind your paywall. So that's really my take on how you create content that builds your business. It really needs to align with what you're doing, your services, your products, your programs, all of your topics, but you don't want to give away what you're paying for. People should be paying for. Now, I've made that mistake myself. I have had people following me and in a program, and I gave away too much of the how-to. And then when I went to do my pitch, they didn't want to buy because they had everything they needed to get the result. So if you can kind of take that lesson and apply it to your content, I think it'll help you. You just don't want to give them all of the answers when you're giving them the how-to of it. Okay. So I hope that helps you, when you're starting to think about what you're going to do and how-to. You want to just give them part of it. All right. So I want to just leave you with one really bit of sage advice when it comes to creating content. I want you to stop listening to people who say that creating content doesn't matter, it's dead, it just doesn't work, because let me tell you, creating content is really like one of the basic marketing things you need to be doing in your business. And that is how you get your message out there consistently on social media, things like that. You really need to have that base of content that you're sharing out there. And then when people check you out, they come to your website and they look to see if you've got that content on your blog that aligns with what you're saying out on social media. Then they will believe that you are the real thing. And then they're more likely to opt in for your opt-in, whatever your freebie might be, or pick up the phone and give you a call, or reach out via email. All right. I also wanted to share this really kind of cool quote that one of my idols, Amy Porterfield, shared. It says that content will keep you in the game. It's what shapes your message. It what allows what you do to make an impact. It's how you do business. And one of the things I always teach people who are working with me or in my coaching programs, and we teach this ascension model. And at the bottom of the ascension model, at the top, you go up to your products and services. At the base of it is your content, because that is how you spread your message. You get people to follow you and to really get on your list so that you can nurture them into paying customers. So I want to leave you to think about all this. It's exactly why I help people build content, because it's really the basis for everything. And it's the perfect way to get your message out without sounding salesy. So if you want to get some more help here, I've created a guide, and it's called the Content Creators Roadmap. It'll help you get started, and I have the link to it right down in the notes. So leave me a message, leave me your comments. I want to hear back from you, and thank you for listening.